Careblazer, have you ever looked into the eyes of your loved one and they said something like, "You're not my wife," or "You're a robot," or maybe even "Somebody's stealing from me"? It's confusing, scary, even heartbreaking. But these strange behaviors, they're unfortunately common in dementia. And once you start to understand what's happening in the brain, it can help us make sense of these strange symptoms. I'm Dr. Natali Edmonds, a board certified geropsychologist, the founder of Dementia Careblazers, and I have dedicated my career to helping family caregivers manage the most challenging situations of dementia caregiving. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 of the most surprising and strange dementia symptoms and what you can do about them. These aren't just theories. These are real Careblazer stories, real strategies, science-backed tips that can really make a difference and help you from feeling totally overwhelmed and blindsided. And if any of these strategies help you, feel free to leave a comment below the video, share your story, and help another Careblazer. All right, strange symptom number 1 is Capgras syndrome. This is what it might sound like. "You are not my wife. You are a robot." Or, "You are not my husband. You are an imposter." I remember working with a Careblazer once whose husband thought she was a robot. And she told me the story of when he would look at her dead in her eyes, serious, and say, "Get out. You are not my wife. You are a robot." And she felt crushed, had no idea what to do. The areas of the brain that are affected with this condition are called the fusiform gyrus and the amygdala, which is really where that emotional connection comes. So the fusiform gyrus is really more about facial recognition, and the amygdala is more about the emotional connection. One way that you can work through this if you ever face this symptom is that sometimes they connect more to the sound of your voice versus seeing your face. So one of the Careblazers I worked with found that if she were to remove herself from her husband's point of view, but call out, "Hey, honey, it's me. I'm coming into the living room," or, "Hey, honey, I'm coming into the kitchen to grab something to drink," him being able to hear her voice made it more likely that he was going to accept her as his wife when he saw her. So keeping this in mind, you might want to do a similar strategy. You could call him on the phone or call your loved one on the phone before you show your face to them, and they can see you talking to them as you walk in. As with many things in dementia care, sometimes the best thing to do is literally walk away, come back later, and try again. Important thing to remember here, it's really not about you, it's about perception. It's about how their brain is perceiving you. Okay, strange symptom number 2 also has to do with faces, but it's a little bit different. It's called prosopagnosia. This is really known as face blindness. They cannot recognize your face. A lot of times Careblazers think, "Oh my gosh, my loved one has forgotten me." But it's actually nothing to do with memory in some cases. It's actually to do with their part of the brain that's responsible for facial recognition. Again, the fusiform gyrus. It's not able to make the connection that who they are looking at is actually their wife. Different from Capgras syndrome, they don't necessarily think you're a robot, but they might not recognize your face. So basically, in their experience, it's like they are looking at a stranger. But also, similar to Capgras syndrome, they usually will still recognize your voice. So for this tip, we don't have to kind of hide ourselves. We can literally, as soon as we start talking, many times they'll remember. You could say, "Hey, Dad, it's me, John, your son." Or, "Hey, honey, it's me, Alice, your wife." Or just start having a regular conversation with them, and sometimes that takes care of the issue altogether. Okay, symptom number 3 is one many people with dementia will experience at some point, and it's called apraxia. Have you ever watched your loved one maybe just stare at a jacket and struggle to put it on, like they had no idea what to do with it, as if it was the first time they were seeing a jacket? They're not being stubborn. They're really experiencing something called apraxia. And there's different kinds, but here's the breakdown of the most common types in dementia. The parietal lobe, it helps us understand where our body is in space. The frontal lobe helps us plan each step of the movement we want to take. So in dementia, these connections start to break down. So even if somebody knows what a jacket is, they might not be able to know how to put it on. The frontal lobes are not putting together the steps that they need to take. I did an entire video with video examples of how the different types of apraxia can look in dementia. I will link to that video below. But if you suspect that your loved one is having problems with movements and doing simple activities, you can try to break tasks down into simple steps. For instance, if we're talking about the jacket situation, you could say, let's start with your right arm. Here you go. We can also try to simplify clothing as much as possible, switching shoelaces for Velcro, switching buttons and zippers for more elastic waistbands, and so on. Basically, in apraxia, their body can still move, but they're not quite sure how to move it. Okay, symptom number 4, I'm betting many of you have already experienced this one, and this one is called shadowing. Basically, they follow you everywhere. One Careblazer told me once, like, I can't even go to the bathroom without her following me. It's overwhelming. I mean, just imagine having somebody hover over you all the time. With this symptom, the hippocampus, often responsible for memory and navigation, is damaged. So this results in your loved one often feeling disoriented and unsafe. So basically, they cling to the only thing that feels constant to them, the only thing that feels safe to them, which is you. It's not about them trying to smother you. It's really about them trying to survive. Some tips that Careblazers have used that have helped are to set up activities and tasks that they can do next to you, but that don't necessarily require you to do with them. Things like maybe them folding towels, looking through photos, sorting magazines, polishing silverware, things like that. You can also try to reassure them with routine, such as, I'm going to make us some tea. I will be right back. And most importantly, this is probably the hardest one, is that you are going to need a break too. If somebody is truly shadowing you and it's been going on for a long time, you are going to need a rest, a break, some respite. So exploring some maybe adult day programs, in-home respite is going to be extremely important. All right, strange symptom number 5, which is also a very common symptom for majority of people with dementia, is something known as delusions. This is basically where the person maybe accuses you or other people of things that are not true, or believes things that just simply are not true, but cause them a lot of distress. So maybe they're thinking things like, he's stealing my money, somebody's watching me, my daughter is lying to me. Even if it's totally false, you can't convince them otherwise. And so it feels like a personal attack, like you are the one giving them so much care and attention, yet here they are blaming you for something that's not even true. And it makes so much sense that you would want to defend yourself and say no. But if it's truly a delusion, none of that's going to work. They're going to dig their heels in. What's happening here is the prefrontal cortex, which is also responsible for kind of a reality check. It's not working so well. And then the limbic system, which really fuels emotions, especially fear, it kind of takes over. And so the brain starts to fill in gaps like, oh my gosh, my purse is missing. Somebody must have stole it. Unfortunately, when it comes to things we can do, it's not going to be defend yourself. It's going to be things like avoiding the argument. It's just going to make things worse. Acknowledge the emotion underneath their words, like, that sounds scary. I'm here with you. Or we'll figure this out together. After listening to what they have to say and showing that you care about what they have to say, you can gently redirect them into something more pleasant, whether it's a favorite activity, a treat, a favorite drink, something like that, to shift their attention onto something else. Remember, whatever they are believing feels so real to them, no matter what you say. So in these situations, our calmness can really make a big impact. So focusing on remaining calm and comforting and reassuring versus trying to defend and argue and reason with them. The most important thing I would say about these 5 confusing, surprising, strange symptoms is that they are all linked to brain changes and different regions of the brain. So even though all we are experiencing is the extremely frustrating situation of them not remembering us or recognizing us or believing things that aren't true, for us, it's so frustrating on the outside, but to keep in mind that on the inside, their brain has suffered some damage, and that's what's causing these symptoms. It's not bad intentions on their part, it's the brain. And while we can't always fix it, often we can't fix it or get rid of it, we can always respond with compassion and a calmness that can help diffuse the situation and help it pass more quickly. Okay, Careblazer, I know you probably have so many more questions and you'd like to dive deeper on a lot of different symptoms and strategies and tips. I share that kind of thing every single week for free, not only here on this channel, but inside of my weekly newsletter called The Dementia Dose. We have over 80,000 Careblazers currently signed up receiving this weekly newsletter, and I would encourage you to do the same. I give you some of my personal thoughts, some of my best tips, strategies, psychology-backed approaches that can really make a big difference in your caregiving situation. You can sign up for that by going to our website, www.careblazers.com/dementia dose. All right, Careblazer, which one of these 5 symptoms have you experienced with your loved one? Up to 90% of people with dementia experience something called behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia, basically symptoms like what I've described here. I'm curious, has your loved one experienced any of these symptoms? So you can let us know by leaving a comment below. I will be back as always next week with a new video. Sending you so much love. Bye.
Also, Nico gets a belly rub for every person who subscribes from this video. So if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. It's totally free, and Nico says thank you very much.